Live with news. I'm Paul.
Guess who's back? Back again, yeah. Shady's back. Tell a friend.
Now, everyone, we like to keep it a little bit too much real for everybody listening. We like to pull the threads on the sweater of conversation, and goddamn it, Paul, let's unravel it tonight. With the first discussion, are teen idols way too much of an influence on let's say the younger generation right now? Let's say you have a movie star, and dear Lord, they're beautiful, they're attractive. How much screen time do they have to have an actual influence upon teens today?
That's a good question, Jesse, and the only way to answer that is to say that all Americans, especially the younger generation, including myself, is influenced by celebrities. I mean, speak for yourself, and anyone who's listening right now that's over the age of 18, most likely over the age of 20, you can speak for yourself and say that you are influenced by someone, have it be someone, if it's someone who's important, yes, but when you're a teenager, it's that person who is making the most news. It's that person that's, twerking per se with Miley Cyrus on stage at the MTV Music Awards.
Why are we not more focused upon the past 2013 Nobel Prize winner, which nobody could say his name? I mean, why is this so much more of a front to our generation's influence? Why are we left alone in this background of uninformed society? I mean, this is the majority of America.
And you just hit it right there. It's basically an uninformed society. That's us as America. And I'm sure we've hit this a few times in our other podcasts, is that we are uninformed. We are okay with our day-to-day lives. And to get back to the subject, it's not necessarily it is what it is. Yes, whenever I have kids, my kids are going to grow up and idolize a certain somebody. I'm just going to make it a point to where it's not a celebrity who has a bad influence or a celebrity that's doing things in a negative way. Granted, they're bettering themselves, but I'm going to make my child better themselves in a different way by idolizing somebody else.
Would it be bad for me to say that if I were to have kids, let's say in the next, and this is, given the fact that maybe over a 10 years period time, things would be differently. But right now, if I were to have children who I was trying to influence them with other people's ideals, I would tell them about a Lawrence Krauss or a
smart individual.
Yeah, or like
it could be anybody.
But theoretical physicists, I want them to look up to scientists.
Right.
I don't want them to look up to a politician, because politicians can be fake. I don't want them to look up to a religion, because religion could be wrong. I want them to look up to someone and, be influenced by someone who is raw facts. This is what this is. And I understand a lot of scientists have issue with moral value, because moral value has never been intertwined with science. And the second you attempt to intertwine them, then you have this medium that is God. And I mean, I don't want to get into that right off the bat, but I just, me personally, if I were to have children, I wouldn't want them to look up to a quarterback, or this all-star pitcher, or this politician, or this singer. I want them to look up to a scientist.
Exactly, because they can better society in that way. It's not about the self-individual. It's not about...
Is it the fact that science lacks morality, and then everybody's kind of their own, because science is its own law and its own focus, and you cannot debate against it. Science is science is science is science.
Right.
And it works no matter what you deal with, no matter what scenario. If it doesn't work, then it gets fixed. It gets fixed within its own reality.
Within one way or another, yes.
Yes, within its own reality.
Exactly.
And it projects this better reality.
Mm-hmm.
So I want my children to, first of all, have an understanding of science, and then go about everything else. I don't want them to have this false ideal of, how everything works. I want them to know how everything works at the time and understand things are going to change with their understanding of how everything works.
Exactly, and you're not going to get that from idolizing a celebrity. You need to get that from idolizing someone else that's important and is actually making an impact on Earth as a whole, not within a culture of 15-year-olds who love to go see Miley Cyrus, and whenever they go to that concert, they're half naked.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Horrible. Horrible.
Yeah.
Absolutely horrible. Okay.
Moving on. We're going to go to something a little more deeper.
I was going to say the most influential person to date, as of right now in our generation, who has been the most influential person, not as a personal level. Let's not take it as a personal level, but someone who is still alive.
Okay.
And is very influential to a whole, and you think is doing a positive thing.
Okay.
Overall.
To me, in as a civilization, I don't think people really look at that on Earth. People live day to day, and they consume themselves with whatever they can, whether it be in America or a third world country. But in my opinion, with the resources that we have in America, I'm going to go with Stephen Hawking because he's paralyzed from the neck down. The dude literally talks through a computer. He reads through a computer, and yet he continues to strive for greatness and progress civilization for what it is. So in my eyes, it has to be him. He's trying to
Stephen
find
Hawking.
Yeah, he's trying to find the truth. He's trying to find out where we're from and what we do to advance, as opposed to being stagnant like the government is doing with NASA and not having any spaceship shuttle launches or anything like that. So
if I could just switch up the question really quick.
Sure, definitely.
And absolutely.
Definitely.
I'm gonna this book I'm gonna toss aside real quick as
Okay.
far as all of our points. I'm
Definitely.
tossing it aside.
Okay.
I'm gonna say, what is the most influential person of all time to create a positive outlook on the world and create a better world within the whole?
Well,
Because they're not alive right now. In my opinion, they're not alive.
Definitely not. And then you actually brought this up earlier as to who this person is, and it actually may have been a group of people, and that group of people was the people who started the United States Constitution.
Mm-hmm. The Founding Fathers.
The Founding Fathers have to be the greatest, influential people ever, because they for one time, if anything was ever perfect on this earth, it was at that point. Within the Constitution, when it was first written, had to have been the question you just asked me.
I mean, you talk about such a struggle to create this unity between all these separate states and fight against this absolute monarch evil, which was happening. And I even bring up the fact that all their greatness has faded away. Everything they fought for, every ideal has been misplaced and faded away, and we're literally back to a monarchy.
So, question though, was it bound to happen? Due to technology and due to a growing population, was it bound to happen? Or could this Constitution have stayed within itself?
A beautiful system like what they created. If everyone was to be... Okay, the system that they created would only work if everybody was completely honest and wouldn't take advantage of it. But guess what? Men's hearts eventually are so... I don't want to say everybody's really dark, but you can have this one small majority become really dark and completely take advantage of the capitalist system. I am sorry. We have a...
Well, it's already happened. There's been movies about it. So.
I compare this all the time, and I've yet to say this on a podcast, and I'm actually really happy to say it right now. Everybody's against a monarchy. The fact that you can be born into power, right? But we have a capitalist society with these huge people who have so much money on for their own account that they can die and leave it to one other person, and then all of a sudden that one person inherits it and uses it for evil. Is that not a monarchy? Because capitalism creates a monarchy within itself, or a hierarchy. Hierarchy sounds better. Regardless, it happens. it will happen no matter what. Until you get rid of this monetary basis of needs, you will have somebody take advantage of it. You will have a power that overthrows other people, and then all of a sudden they influence it within their own way. There will always be these corruptions.
Yeah.
Always be these corruptions.
So what do we do? I mean, obviously, the point that we're on here is the most influential person of all time on Earth. With going into saying that, yes, it was our founding fathers, and yes, it's now been corrupt. Are we going into another topic into saying how do we fix it?
As far as the United States goes?
Sure, definitely.
Or you want to get into that?
I mean, sure, I'm cool with that.
Well, first of all, the United States has to get rid of the fucking Federal Reserve.
Well, and you and I, when we were doing a podcast the other night, literally saw, finally, for the first time that I've seen since I've been alive, and maybe I need to do research more, but they are finally putting more stipulations on the Federal Reserve. Remember seeing that article the other night?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. About time that we start putting stipulations on it. I'm going to go off subject here, and I'm going to bring up something that I want to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Is the fact that in 2015, our contract ends with the internet that you and I are speaking on right now, will end in 2015, and the UN will be in control over all of the internet in the United States. How do you feel about that?
That is the most corrupt, socialistic, overpowering, the 1% controlling the majority I have ever heard in my entire life. The absolute downfall of humanity. And as far as, just really quick, for any listener, attempt to put your mind into the person in ultimate power. You yourself would say, oh, I would do things right? I would be self-sacrificing. People in power nowadays do not understand the idea of self-sacrifice. Someone in any kind of power, I don't care what it is, if they're a police officer, has given up your own self to be in that position. Now you need to be outside of yourself and be sacrificing for the majority underneath you. Now you could take that to the exact extreme and say the President of the United States needs to be completely self-sacrificing. He should not live in some luxury. He should literally be raw for the people. He should be on the front line of, if there's some controversy, if there is a war, he should be on the front line because that's what he wanted to get himself into. Now there is this idea of being in political power to where you put everybody else in front of you and they hit the brunt of it and you get all the fucking benefits from it. You fucking raped the people. I don't give a fuck as far as the last good politician got fucking shot in the back of a fucking car. And you want to know why? Because he was self-sacrificing and actually give a shit about fucking people in the majority. And nobody fucking liked it for it. No, the people in power didn't like it.
No, they didn't. That's why he got shot. And it was literally blatant. He was literally putting out all the secrets. John F. Kennedy put it out there for everyone to hear.
Because that's how it should have been.
Exactly. And you can listen to audio clips of John F. Kennedy speaking to the sheeple. May I say it again? The sheeple, because we are sheep. Saying exactly what was going on and what is going to happen and what is happening now and how we're getting overtaken. That's what was happening. That's
if you look at the 1500s, this was huge. Whenever you had like lords of you had lords and you have peasants. They did not want the peasants to learn how to read, because if they learned literacy, if they were literate, then all of a sudden it created all these fucking issues. This is what we're dealing with right now in a bigger scale. They do not want us to be informed. Fuck them.
Yeah, fuck them. And we're going to come back with another podcast. We're going to get right back into the internet being taken over by the UN. And we'll be right back with you here on News Radio 816. I'm Paul.
Jesse.
And we'll be seeing you
signing out.